An overcast stitch is a means of finishing off a raw edge of fabric so that it doesn't unravel after a garment especially has been sewn. There are lots of ways you can do an overcast stitch. One of them is to use a serger or an overcast machine. I'm going to show you in this definition how to do one with a standard machine instead, because I think it's really important to recognize that your sewing machine can do most of the things that you need to do in sewing. So I've got the raw edge of my fabric here, and I'm going to line it up with the center score mark on my presser foot, and you'll see that that's in line with my needle. The reason I'm lining it up that way is because I want to make sure when I zigzag over it that my needle goes on the fabric, off the fabric, on the fabric, off the fabric, on the fabric, off the fabric. As that happens, those off the fabric stitches will wrap around the exterior of the fabric and catch any little unravelly bits here so that they don't unravel. So I'm going to start by putting my needle down in my fabric. I'm already set to a zigzag stitch, so I'm already on sort of the middle of the road median zigzag that my machine will make. And then I'm just going to sew on, off, on, off, on, off. Notice that I've got my fabric really centered up right on that presser foot there in the middle, that I really want to hit that center so that it's going beneath the needle to make sure the needle always goes off. And when you're done, when you're done, and you cut your thread and look at your work there, see that? You can see that the thread has wrapped around the edge of the fabric just so in order to prevent any unraveliness. You may notice on your machine when you do it that it might sort of curl under a little bit. Sometimes it'll make almost a rolled hem when you use this technique, depending on what sewing machine you have. Other machines, you just really need to adjust your stitch length and stitch width in order to get a visually pleasing effect. Ideally, though, when you use an overcast stitch like this, particularly for garments, you won't be losing any of the width of your fabric because we still want to use this overcast edge to guide us as we sew our seam. So I don't want to lose any horizontal measurement here and shrink my fabric pieces after I've cut them out of my pattern. I want to make sure that everything stays the same size. So that's it. Set your machine to a zigzag, put the edge of your fabric centered under your needle, and you'll have the overcast stitch.